Get ready, game on! 16, 16, 16, stop running out of time. 16, 16, 16 more minutes, it's on the line. 16, 16.
Little, we thought high school sports would be like this. There wouldn't be anything we would have to worry about. It would just be having fun with our friends.
Now that we have experienced high school sports, we have seen its grueling effects, not just physically, but mentally too. Student athletes now have to balance schoolwork, extracurricular activities, and their sport for 4 years of high school. So much is to be demanded of today's student athletes. They are put under an immense amount of stress.
The entire process starts when our bodies recognize something called a stressor. Examples of stressors that student athletes might encounter are a large amount of schoolwork or an upcoming big game. The part of the brain known as the amygdala deems these stressors as dangerous. It then sends a signal to the hypothalamus, which activates the stress response system. Next, a hormone called ACTH is sent to the adrenal glands located on top of the kidneys. These glands produce adrenaline, which increases heart rate, O2 levels, and sugar supply in the body. Cortisol is also produced by the adrenal glands. It has the same effects as adrenaline. If a person is constantly under stress, it is known as chronic stress. Cortisol is being constantly produced by the adrenal cortex, and the adrenal medulla is constantly producing epinephrine and norepinephrine. These hormones combined are known as adrenaline. They don't have any negative short-term effects, but when the body produces these hormones for a long period of time, it can wreak havoc on the body. According to the American Psychological Association, people who are under chronic stress are at risk of developing severe migraines and rapid breathing. These people also may have long-term heart and blood vessel problems. Some of these problems include increased heart rate and blood pressure. These may lead to more serious problems such as hypertension, heart attack, or stroke. High levels of stress can also cause elevated levels of sugar in the body, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. Chronic stress can have extremely negative effects on the body that you won't feel till you're an adult. Stress is not just faced by adults, but by kids as well. Even doctors are starting to see more young patients who are under chronic stress.
My name is Jessica Castingay. I'm an adolescent medicine physician at Akron Children's Hospital, and I was asked today to talk to you a little bit about stress.
So what is stress?
So stress is anything that can cause a change. So things can be good stress, like wanting to do well on a test so that you can advance your education, or it can be bad and actually cause bad changes for children.
Do you see a lot of patients who are stressed?
Many of my patients are stressed. Some of them are worried about grades, some of them are worried about their families, some of them are just worried about making sure they can get their next meal.
Okay, and then do you think stress is becoming a serious issue for teenagers?
I think stress can make anything worse for a teenager. So someone who's set up to be anxious or already a little depressed, stress can make that 10 times worse. So I definitely think it's an important problem and that teenagers should find ways to relax and de-stress.
Stress is becoming a major part of teens' lives.
I can't really remember the last time I had a chance to go in the backyard and just run around.
School's just so much pressure that every day I would wake up dreading it.
I would spend 6 hours a night on my homework.
You have to get into the top schools.
You have to take tests and do interviews.
It's gone way to the extreme.
We're all caught up in it.
In America, if you don't earn a lot of money, something went wrong.
The pressure comes from the colleges, from the parents, from the government, but it has to stop.
Stress is becoming a serious problem among high school students. They don't have the time to pursue their dreams, and they're under an immense amount of stress to succeed. A poll conducted by the American Psychological Association found that teens have extremely unhealthy levels of stress. About 31% of the teens who responded to the poll claim that their stress levels have increased over the previous year. This poll also asked teens questions about their sleeping patterns. Teens reported that they sleep on average 7.4 to 8.1 hours per night. The main reason for this lack of sleep? Schoolwork. They are working on schoolwork late into the night. The students are then expected to wake up early in the morning and perform their best at school the next day. These teens struggle with the large amounts of schoolwork, late nights, and pressure to succeed academically. Now imagine, students who play sports have to balance the same things, plus the pressure of succeeding athletically. They take the same classes as students who don't play sports, and have the same amount of work as other students, but they have much less time to complete their work. Many times, student athletes have to practice or games right after school. They could potentially not get home until 9 or 10 p.m. After coming home from a long school day and a long practice or game, the last thing they want to do is homework, especially 2 to 3 hours of it. But they have to keep their grades up. If their grades fall, so does their GPA. If their GPA falls, so does their freedom to play sports and their chances to get into a good college. It is a vicious cycle. Student athletes have to constantly stay on top of their game to ensure that they succeed. If they don't do well in their sports, then they feel like a failure. If they decide to focus on their sport and less on school, then they reduce their college options. It is a hard balance to maintain. It is no help that colleges expect students to be well-rounded with things other than sports. All students are now expected to spend any free time they have either being involved in clubs or volunteering. Two common organizations that students join are Key Club and National Honor Society. Combined, these organizations require a total of 80 hours of community service. When a student has to go from about 7-hour school day to 3 to 4 hours of athletics to volunteering, it can get difficult. Many things such as sleep are pushed to the back of the mind.
It's all about the sleep. That's what people don't realize. You know, when you sleep, your brain is repairing and your body is repairing.
A study done by Stanford University asked student athletes about their sleeping patterns. They found that 75% of the students they questioned slept less than 8 hours per night. The National Sleep Foundation recommends 8.5 to 9.25 hours of sleep.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Roussel, and welcome to the Sleep to Perform series sponsored by Technogel. And so most of the time with athletic performance, you're usually going to think about how much time you're practicing, your recovery, maybe leading up to a game, time in the weight room, but how much time you're sleeping, or maybe even your diet, but how much time you're sleeping is rarely brought into consideration when you talk about high athletic performance or sports performance. But there's really interesting research coming out, more and more showing that inadequate sleep is going to have negative effects on athletic and sports performance.
Sleep-deprived athletes don't perform as well in school and their sport. They are also more likely to get injured. Dr. Ritzman is a pediatric orthopedic specialist at Akron Children's Hospital. He claims that a lack of sleep leads to slower reaction times, which would lead to a higher likelihood for injury. He also said when the body doesn't have time to heal from physical activity, stress and overuse injuries become more common. Student athletes are put under so much stress. They are expected to balance 10,000 things at once, and it takes its toll. A study done by the National Institute of Mental Health found that 8% of teens have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety is a normal response to stress. Since student athletes are under constant stress, they constantly have feelings of anxiety. Feelings of intense anxiety can be debilitating to the point of having self-harming behaviors. These may include drugs, alcohol, physical harm, or even suicide. Studies show that 1 in 8 teenagers have thoughts of suicide, and 1/3 act on those thoughts. This is becoming all too common and needs to stop.
Kim, Karen, and Chris have seen their workloads more than double in the past week. As suicide prevention counselors, they deal with high-risk teens.
The phone has not stopped ringing. The school counselors that we work with are telling us that they're seeing more and more kids. We're seeing even kids that we've been seeing prior to this have been triggered.
Kids are struggling with their own emotions and they're seeing an outlet. And our goal as therapists is always to encourage them to remember that there is hope.
Options is just one resource. At the Suicide Prevention Center of BC, they've seen a 126% increase to youthinbc.com, 367% increase to bullying-related web pages, and a 143% increase to suicide pages. Both places say teens are looking for new ways to cope with problems.
But what we do hear a lot is, well, she's in a better place now, and she doesn't feel any pain anymore, And I don't want to feel pain anymore either.
Stress is killing teenagers, some in the short term and some in the long term. These teens need to learn how to manage their stress before something bad happens.
There are several ways today's teens can cope with stress. Exercise is a great way to release stress. Stress produces chemicals that make your body feel tense and on edge. Exercise moves those chemicals out of your body and takes your mind off of your problems. It can also improve your quality of sleep, making you feel well rested. School is important, but it's not everything. Try to find a balance between schoolwork and doing activities you enjoy. School should not be a constant worry. It's okay to take a break every once in a while. This doesn't mean you can blow off your grades, but listening to music, talking to a friend, or spending time with a pet can reduce some of your stress. Sometimes stress can cause you to think negatively about yourself. Try to decrease this by focusing on your strengths and having a positive outlook on life. Your situation can always improve, but you're going to have to be the one to bring about the change.
I want you to think about the last time you had a really good laugh. Same sea of blank faces I see from coast to coast. We're gonna do a little research because, boy, NACU's all about research and education. And so what we're gonna do here is, on the count of 3, if you're physically able, I'll ask you to stand. If not, do this from a seated position. But on the count of 3, stand, and then facing me, I want you to just take a deep breath. And then I want you to put the shape of a smile on your face. For the purpose of this research, this does not have to be a real smile, okay? I will give you one last set of instructions, and then you can sit down and groan loudly, and we will give you the reasons for this research. All right, count of 3. 1, 2, 3, stand. Take a deep breath. Now put the shape of a smile on your face. And I need to see teeth. I don't care if they're yours, okay? Now, last set of instructions. Turn and make eye contact with a victim to your left or right. And now sit down groaning loudly. This is great. This is great. All right, 2 things here. 1, now everybody has a tool. If you had to leave right this minute, and please don't, but if you had to leave right now, you would have a tool. The next time you go back to work and you're sitting at your desk and you think, if one more person puts one more thing on my desk, I'm gonna have to snatch them bald-headed. Now all you have to do is facing your entryway, doorway, or hallway, sitting or standing, just do this. Because the next person to walk in and see you looking like this, they're going to know that now is not the time to bother you. You can play with your pain. You can be intentional. Doing little exercises. Here's another one that you may have known, you just forgot you knew it. Hold out your right thumb, forefinger about 1 inch apart. Close your left eye. Now find someone's head across the room. Bring your thumb and forefinger together and squish. They don't even know they were hit. Oh. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Here are unique examples of how some teams cope with their stress. Lori Light's son jumps off of a cliff to reduce his stress. This is a visualization technique where he believes in himself and the positive outcome when he hits the water. Deborah Kogan came up with having mother-daughter guitar lessons to help her daughter take a break from her busy school life. One teenager even gets foot rubs from his father several times a day to calm him down. His father says that if it works for his son, it works for him. Stress is a problem, but there are many solutions out there for teens to experiment with. They need to take action now before they face the negative consequences.
Huh?